Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I get to tell you about our good friends Streetside Brewery, the best brewery in Cincinnati. And I'm not just making that up, okay? They have won many, many awards. But one of the other things that they do, other than, of course, winning awards, and of course, other than having an amazing location in the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood, and also in addition to having great food options and friendly staff and like a really cool vibe that's there, in addition to all of that, they also hold events. And on December 10th, they are hosting a blood drive. That is with the folks over at the Hawksworth Blood Center. And if you go to Streetside and donate some blood, you will get a very cool backpack and Streetside gift card. What could you use that gift card on? I'll leave it to your imagination, okay? This is really, really cool. And one of the reasons why we love Streetside here is that they are always looking to be a part of the community, give back to the community. And this is a great way. And this is a great way to get involved. So go check them out. And let me just once again give a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. They absolutely deserve your business. And thank you, listener, for going and checking them out. And on today's episode, well, we are, of course, going over the recent roster decisions that FC Cincinnati had to make. And we say goodbye to a club legend in Yuya Kubo. It's going to be hard to live in a world without him as an FC fan, but we will soldier on. We also have quite a few Patreon questions to make up for the month of November, so we do our best to answer those, including repeat concert offenders and some more aftermath of the Miami match. So you put it all together, you got yourselves the first proper off-season postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by two gentlemen, and finally, once again, two gentlemen that are, officially in off-season mode, joined by the Chief, but we are once again joined by Grayson. Grayson, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Good to be back in the United States of America, a place that still, retains its national identity.
Yes.
It's not overrun by Australians and Brits like Alberta, Canada seems to be.
Look, you go back to the empire. You got to deal with the consequences of that. They asked permission to leave. They didn't fight their way out like we did.
I understand the whole Commonwealth thing.
Yeah.
Happens. Okay. I understand that Canada is technically part of the Commonwealth, or whatever. But when I'm up there, I kind of see things. I kind of see what James Polk was talking about, right? It is kind of like our birthright to it feels like this should be, if not ours, it should be something that we have a much closer claim to than the Kiwis,
okay.
And yet you go up there and you hear the oot and a boot type of accent, right?
Love it.
But the most common accents I was hearing were English, Australian, New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it's what, and it's what is Pierre Poliv doing? I thought we were, what are you're sleeping in your own backyard, man.
Yeah. I love that Grayson goes to Canada and immediately gets a nativist pride for his fellow countrymen that are not his fellow countrymen in Canada.
Yeah. Can you be nativist on behalf of another native, let's say?
Well, they're our neighbors,
Sure.
So we got to go like Ordo Amoris, right? Like you think about like your family, and you care about your neighbor. I care about my neighbor up in Canada.
I don't know that they're thrilled about that fact these days.
I'll say, yeah, this is actually, it's funny. So you have as an American, and this is not unique. This is not unique to Canada, but you do have kind of like a dual experience where, so like I was like, we were there on Thanksgiving Day. You know, I'm out skiing on Thanksgiving. People ask you, you know, where you're from, whatever. You say you're from America. They immediately say Happy Thanksgiving. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because they know that it's our Thanksgiving,
and they're part of the war on Christmas, where they won't say Merry Christmas too, right?
Because American culture is like pretty hegemonic, where like we expect foreigners to like know when our national holidays are, right?
Yes.
Right.
But also they'll make like jokes about like, oh, this is, you know, back before there were tariffs and stuff, right? So like clearly they're like not thrilled about like everything about America, but they still are nice, and they still, you know, are welcoming, and they're aware that like there's a lot of Americans up there. And I guess maybe some people, I go up there and I think it's not your Thanksgiving. I'm not expecting you to know anything about it or mention it, but I'm sure that like some Americans go, I'm sure, knowing Americans, that there's plenty of Americans that go around and they're like, don't they know it's Thanksgiving?
What are you going to tell me next? You guys don't celebrate the 4th of July in the summer? Commies.
Right. They're walking around like England on July 4th, and they're like, Happy Independence Day. Doesn't everybody celebrate this?
No, and neither would we if we just paid our taxes.
Like a French person coming over here and saying like, look, you guys work on Bastille Day?
Yeah. Actually, it's
you guys work? You guys work?
You guys work?
Day?
Yeah, I was about to say. You guys work? So I'm on my 4th holiday of the year.
I am impressed that they know our Thanksgiving. You're right. I do think it is sort of a cultural victory, if you were to look at it in civ terms, where sure, they may not be the 51st state, but they're wearing our blue jeans and listening to our music.
So I assume that everybody knows. I assume both you know and everybody listening knows that the Canadian Thanksgiving is a month earlier.
Yeah.
It's in October. Guess what they eat on Canadian Thanksgiving?
Back bacon and Molson.
They eat turkey.
Wow.
Makes you think.
So wait, their Thanksgiving is before the NHL season starts? That seems all wrong.
They get it out of the way.
They're busy otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. If there was a hockey game on, nobody would meet up.
I'm not going to cook the turkey and watch the Leafs, eh?
I was in the Calgary airport. I was in the Calgary airport when the Ohio State Michigan game kicked off, and there were 2 TVs around. One was on curling, and one was on like youth hockey.
Yeah.
Nice.
So remember that cultural victory you were talking about there, Kevin? Not quite. Not quite.
But Thursday and Friday, everywhere I went, NFL football.
So we haven't quite gotten college football, and I think that's fair. But I think the NFL probably does.
We just got to get the Canadians involved in the transfer portal. That's the issue here. Is that as soon as they get into the transfer portal, we can then, you know, not only can we claim them for the United States, we can get them locked in the portal. We can also get them in the college football ecosystem. It is an untapped resource for college football in Canada. Like the Big Ten already should be eyeing expansion to the greater Toronto area to add that to their media footprint.
My server at dinner on Thursday was an English guy, which, you know, noted, right?
Once again,
like we're monitoring that situation for sure.
Hashtag noticing.
But he was a Bengals fan.
Okay.
And he made a point to kind of give me updates on the game throughout dinner, because there wasn't a place with the TV, as if I'm not like watching it on my phone.
He's thinking about you though. That's nice.
It is a weird experience.
Chief, as somebody who you're on Twitter, tweeting about Chelsea, frequently, you don't get to ask why an English person is a Bengals fan. This of all podcasts
at least I picked,
needs to
winner.
Understand that okay, then you don't get to complain about you don't get to complain about never winning, I guess, right?
I don't. I complain that they annoy me, but I don't complain about never winning. They haven't won recently. It's a what have you done for me lately? Sports are what have you done for me lately? There's a shelf life on how happy you can be after winning a title.
I watched an interview with I guess Chelsea's a little different because they have done their fair share of winning. But I watched an interview with Zoran where he was talking about being an Arsenal fan. And they were talking about this is pain or whatever. I'm like, shut up.
It's the most annoying thing in the world.
You guys have won plenty.
Yes.
Right? They were the freaking Invincibles.
Anybody who is a fan of, especially the big 6 or 7.
Let's be real.
Big 4.
Get it.
5. 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But still,
don't give Burge
the other
that.
one is no, but the other one is Spurs. It's oh, I'm so sorry. You're always in the mix and constantly competing and in Champions League finals. It must be really hard. Go talk to a Scunthorpe United fan, right?
That's true. Even Spurs made a Champions League final in the last couple of years. They won Europa League. They finished second and third a few times.
That's a good League. Team. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not ready to say that finishing second is a good team or a good season. But
I was waiting for it.
Maybe you're happy with that, Kevin.
I think that's generally a good result.
If you ain't first, you're last. Everybody knows this.
That we know that is not true. The Spoon years were significantly different than this past year. Oh man!
Talk to Ricky Bobby. Don't talk to me.
We are back, and we got Grayson back. So now, I guess the first order of business with Offseason FC Cincinnati is to look at the roster moves, the roster decisions. We have to say goodbye to an absolute club legend in Yuya Kubo. There's plenty more guys to talk about, but I want to give Yuya his own moment here, as it does look like he is probably done in the United States as well. There's already sort of rumors swirling that he's heading back to Japan. We'll see where he exactly ends up, but man, he will finish. Oh gosh, I don't have this in front of me. I think second all-time appearances for FC Cincinnati at time of leaving. I think Nick Haglund has him beat there. They were neck and neck for most of the season. And yeah, he had a wild time, Chief. Joined in 2020, gone after 2025.
Yeah, we talked about it. I think one of the last couple episodes, he comes during COVID, really, really tough. Season goes on hiatus. He is tagged as a designated player, but the team that they build around him never really, matches the skill set he brings to the table, never really made a whole lot of effort to unlock anyone's offensive potential, let alone Yuya Kubo's offensive potential.
Yeah.
He's an inherit of the Noonan regime inherits him. And I don't think that they ever really knew what to do with Yuya Kubo, and he obviously didn't fit what they wanted. They were not going to be playing.
Kubo is the all-time appearance leader, by the way.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, but they were never gonna play with wingers, which is what I think that if you had to say what is Yuya Kubo, he is an attacking winger. He's not a wingback, somebody that you could transition into that role. He's not a sole striker. He's not going to be the person that you're going to count on to be the man scoring a lot of goals. And he wasn't ever brought in for that. He was brought in to be a complementary piece alongside Jurgen Locadia, with Locadia being, the A1 alpha type striker. But you know what? He did everything that was asked of him. He played every position that was asked of him. He, seemed like a team first guy for the majority of his time here. saw the absolute worst of this club and saw the absolute best of this club. And I agree. Legend is how I described him. And I'm going to miss him. Like, I know what sucks is, and it's an interesting thing that happens a lot of times in sports, is that your last memories of a club legend aren't always the best. And he was not good this year. Like, he did not have a good year. He was not healthy most of the year. He started the year off poorly with some contractual issues, which I don't think helped anything. But I think we're all in agreement that the last couple of years, he was an integral piece of what this club did and what he allowed this club to do. And I hope that he is remembered for that, for just being the ultimate Swiss Army knife, team first guy that sort of found his role, even if it wasn't the role everybody envisioned for him in the start when he came over.
Yeah, it was shocking that he was signed as a designated player to be striker, right? To play forward, to lead the line with Locadia. And by year 2 was our starting defensive midfielder. Like, bizarre changes being made there. He ends up being essentially the first option off the bench for every position and every player on the field. You'd say like he was our best 12th man if like 12th man didn't already have like a significance or signified something. But yeah, he truly was like the ultimate sub. I don't know that you call him a super sub, but yeah, he was just like that first guy up that was super reliable. You could plug him in anywhere.
People forget that Yuya Kubo was our leading scorer in 2020. Now,
with 3 goals.
Don't look up how many goals it was.
Okay,
right.
That's none of our business.
Right.
That's rude. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's rude. It's a secret.
It's like asking how much money somebody makes. It's none of your business, man.
Yeah,
but I kind of have like have had like 2 thoughts about Kubo beyond how much we appreciate what he does with the club. One is that I can't help but feel that like this team ruined his career. That like he was like getting like he was on like the outskirts of the Japanese national team. He had been scoring pretty well in Switzerland and Belgium. He had a season at forward in the Bundesliga. It wasn't like great or anything, right? But it was a season where he got a lot of play. He got a lot of play in the Bundesliga. And he comes over here as a DP striker, and he comes into the worst possible situation you could possibly imagine. It's not just COVID, but it's also like that Nijkamp Stam team. He has 2 years under Jaap Stam.
Oh,
and that's not great for anybody. So you would not have blamed him if at the end of 21 he just dips.
Yeah.
Right. But because 21 was also the first year, as Kevin mentioned, that he started playing, in midfield and whatever. But he was there 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. It's a lot of seasons here. He ends up coming, I think, on the positive side of the ledger as far as like more good times than bad. Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is he was kind of in the unfortunate situation, once he got out, once like Pat Noonan comes in, is that because of the reality of MLS roster rules, where you don't have deep squads by design.
Yeah.
Kubo was like too good of a player to start because he was too good at like so many different positions that you kind of needed to have him available to make a tactical substitution or make a situational substitution for one of any number of spots. And so like we had players who, maybe Yuya would have beaten them if it was like a one-on-one competition specifically for that spot.
Right. But
like that other player was much more limited as a sub, and I know there was that whatever happened at the beginning of the year where he was late to camp or whatever, but otherwise, like for somebody who had so many reasons to complain, he just seemed to always come in and like, put in a shift, right?
Do his job.
Work hard for the club, do his duty and do right by the team and the fans. And that's part of why he is such a fan favorite, because I think people in Cincinnati, recognize and appreciate that he was a guy who, for most of his time with the team, was like the dirty work.
Yes.
Put your ego aside guy.
Yeah.
And he rarely got his moment in the spotlight. And really the only time he got his moment, like truly in the spotlight, was when he came on this show and then immediately scored a hat trick in the next game.
The originator of the postcast bump.
That's true. That is true, man. I will say too, just like on a personal note, like having the opportunity to interview Yuya Kubo really felt like a milestone for this show, as well as like it was no longer like a novelty that we were getting players, and then he was a legit player who was like starting and had been with the club for a long time and nobody had really talked to. And I don't know, man, that was a cool moment.
It never entered my head as a possibility.
No.
Right.
No.
I had never conceived of the possibility.
I'll put it this way.
We would get Yuya Kubo.
If I was the club, I would not have offered him to us for an interview spot. And no chance I would have let that happen if I was running things. But I'm happy it did.
Yeah. And the incredible Chipotle order. Sometimes cream sauce, always the same. I repeat that all the time in my life.
Sometimes cream sauce, but always the same.
But always the same.
Godspeed to you, Kubo.
Looking forward to seeing where he ends up. If he does end up in the J League, that would be fun. I need a J League team. That would be a good excuse to follow a team.
I have a suspicion he's probably retiring, but we'll see.
Oh, but if he does retire, he could stick around.
They got to bring him back. That'll be an electric sword pull when he eventually comes back.
Yeah. I do think he was like truly like a fan favorite. And I think Grayson hit the nail on the head. He was like a Cincinnati hustle type player. And I think that's appreciated.
Little Ryan Friel action there. Cincinnati loves a guy that does the dirty work. I
mean, there's a reason why we all latched onto die with your boots on this offseason. Like, that's it. That's the Cincinnati thing. Yeah. That's what I want you to do. FC Cincinnati also exercise the options on, let's go through the departures. Kai Kamara and Brad Smith were declined. Alvis Powell's option was declined, but they did add the note that they are in further discussions with him. My guess there is they would like him back on a supplemental roster spot if possible. Don't want him back on his full number. And then all of the players who were on loan are no longer on loan. However, Brenner, Engel, and Jabari are in discussions, or FC Cincinnati's in discussions with their parent clubs to have them here permanently. Now, Engel and Jabari, sure, makes sense. Chief, what do we make of Brenner discussions happening here?
I don't think he was in the plans long term. I think that when Brenner came to this club, it was, we don't have a lot of room to take on somebody at the window, but we are missing this piece. Yeah. And as best the story is out there that you can, read about publicly, it sounds like a lot of this was facilitated by some personal contacts that Jeff Birding was maintaining with Brenner's people and with Brenner himself. It sounds like. Mm-hmm. The impression that I get, and this is based on nothing other than just looking at the situation at face value based on what we see and what we've witnessed since he's been here, I get the real sense that there was a lot more to the Brenner experience that the team got that they weren't expecting. Like, I think that they thought Brenner had matured. I think that they were surprised by how much he had matured. I think that they expected they would be getting good production and good contributions for him. I think they were surprised by how much production and how well he paired with Kevin Denke, or not with Kevin Denke, with Evander specifically.
Yeah, not so much with Denke.
Not so much with Denke, but to be fair, Denke really didn't pair well with anyone down the stretch this year. I wonder if there's not two things going on here. I think that one thing that could be a possibility is I think there could be a little bit of an arbitrage situation going on here, where Brenner so increased his value while he was here that the club has the ability to basically trigger the option to purchase and then immediately turn around and sell for more money. And it's just a question of, like, can we get this done in the window? Can we get this sale arranged within the window we have to buy? So if we can find another place to sell Brenner and you can make a quick 2 million, 3 million, because your buy option is less than now what another team will pay after watching him ball out for a couple of months, I think that's a possibility. The other possibility that's out there, or that I think is out there, is we all know that it's again, we said it before, the worst kept secret. Now that the schedule change is official, the new worst kept secret in MLS is that the salary and roster rules are changing ahead of the 2027 flip to the winter calendar. So there's going to be a different set of roster rules for the sprint season that they have, and then a completely different set of roster rules they're going to have when the schedule flips to the winter calendar. And by all accounts, they are going to be a lot less restrictive. What that means, nobody knows. If that means that there's going to be more of a higher cap, but a hard cap, and you just have to fit your players into that, don't know. It could be a situation where the new designated player rule doesn't count in transfers, to where it's just what the player is making that makes them a designated player, and you don't have to worry anymore about how a transfer fee amortizes. I don't know. The person who would know this is probably Chris Albright and FC Cincinnati's front office. Brenner is under contract through 2028 with Udinese. So there's a reality, not saying that either side is amicable to this, but there's a reality where the plan with Brenner can just be, we need to keep him on loan through next year. And then after next year, our ability to buy him will be materially different. And then the way you work this is you say to Udinese something like, okay, I'm making these numbers up because I don't know that they're public right now. But like, if the buy option on Brenner this year was $6 million or $7 million, and he's making $2.5 million in salary, we'll say, or $3 million in salary, say, per year. We want him back next year. We need you to cover his salary, all $3 million, because we can't have him at a designated player level. But we will change that buy option to a buy obligation that triggers for the 2027 season, and it now goes up to 10 million. So you're getting made whole for his salary through a renegotiated buy option. We just need you to keep him on your books for our salary purposes until the transfer can be made permanent in 2027, when theoretically maybe there is a better mechanism that keeps him from being a DP, or alternatively that, you know, Miles Robinson isn't a designated player under the 2027 calculations, or Denke isn't a designated player under those calculations. I don't know. But because Udinese has him under contract for so long, there is probably a way that you can finagle things to do like a Rodrigo de Paul situation, where the cap hit to Cincinnati doesn't hit until they have the room to make it, which would even be kicking the can down the road another year. I don't know. I'm speculating, but the fact that they didn't turn it down immediately, which is where I thought this was heading, it's promising. Just keep an eye on it. I wouldn't get hopeful at this point until you hear more, but I think it's promising that they're still in conversation about that.
Yeah, I think that's one of many things that we're keeping an eye on.
Noticing.
Yep.
Chief, I'm glad you brought up the Rodrigo DePaul, because that is precisely the structure of that deal, where it is an obligation. It's not an option. And yeah, his salary is being sort of intentionally obfuscated between, what his parent club is paying, what Miami is paying, what the MLSPA is reporting, what he's being counted for in terms of DP designation. Yeah, I mean, there's an obvious precedent being set here that teams are allowed to maneuver this way. And yeah, in your scenario, Udinese basically gets a free $1 million at the end of, or somewhere in the middle of 2027. I don't know. I could use a free $1 million. Sounds great.
And I mean, you can structure it so that he's a max TAM player. I mean, if Udinese,
sure.
you can make Udinese whatever offer that you want on this to make it work. What I do think is interesting, though, is noted, does not follow me, ends up in my mentions a ton unprompted, which again, noticing. One Taylor Twellman, who dropped in out of the clouds when he wasn't tagged, notified, or follows to say, Kevin Denke and Brenner don't work, and Brenner, Denke, and Evander don't work well together. Given who he talks to and who he's been lifelong friends with, sometimes you have to wonder if those are Taylor's thoughts or those are coming from someone else that is close to the situation. Either way, again, noticing.
Right. I do need we need more information.
I do.
To evaluate that statement, right? What is the definition of works well together? Why did Brenner score all the goals after he joined? Was he cannibalizing the other two from scoring goals? Well, where were all the goals they were supposed to have been scoring all season? I don't know. Did the team score the right number of goals this year? They were scoring the exact right number of goals, and that was disrupted by Brenner coming? I don't know. Does the coach have any impact on whether forwards work together? Nobody could possibly know.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that it was pointed maybe more that Denke and Brenner don't work well together, when really I think the player whose production fell off was Evander's. But I think most people would agree Evander and Brenner seem to get along more. But I don't know that the stats bore that out necessarily. Denke was okay. Brenner was great, but Evander fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, the question that this coaching staff, and this is grist for a future episode, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about this, but one of the big questions this coaching staff needs to evaluate, and it's going to depend on what ends up happening with Brenner, obviously, but they have a lot of offensive talent on this team that for whatever reason this year just did not work well together. And I'm specifically saying individually, the talents of Kevin Denke, Evander, Luca Orishano, and Brenner individually are all phenomenal talents.
Yeah.
None of them, some of them in combination work well with one another, but you would be hard pressed to say that anyone was a force multiplier with each other. The closest thing I think we had to that was Brenner and Evander. In terms of, if you had to ask me which of those if you pair any of those two players up, which ones worked the best, it was those two.
The real answer to this, of the players
trust falls
in the entire offense who seemed to be force multipliers.
Who?
Kevin knows.
Dado and Evander. Dado and Evander, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're both on the field, it is like legit magic, and I don't know why we are not allowed to see it more.
I would like to know. I would like to read the self-evaluation of the team.
Oh my God!
Okay,
yes.
who, what unit played well, what unit in their view underperformed, where the coaches feel that they made the like brought the most value to the team, where they feel they maybe didn't get things right. Because people talk about the offensive underperformance, which I think is undeniable.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from somebody within FC Cincinnati who thinks that the offense performed well or adequately. Like, I would love to hear that explanation if anybody holds that opinion. I'd be surprised if anybody does. But the other one is, I'm sorry, the defense did not perform how you would think they would. They gave up a lot of goals in a lot of games. They were not like a top, unit. And they had a lot of money invested in, particularly in the center back position, a lot more than basically anybody they played against.
Yeah.
And you could say something like, well, one of those contracts was Teenage Davy and he wasn't great all year or whatever. Well, they picked up his option. So they must think he was good.
They like that number. They like that player. Yeah.
So if you look at the numbers, like the people with access to like the stats, like, the Matt Doyles or whatever have shown that like they gave up a lot of great opportunities this year and were like pretty good at blocking shots. And it's like, well, maybe that's why you pay so much for all your center backs, so that they can block all these shots and bail you out. But it does feel like the better thing to do would be to just try to figure out if it's possible at all to limit the opportunities that your opponent gets.
It's funny.
Yeah.
There was also media availability that happened last week after or around the same time the roster decisions were coming out. I think the media availability was the day before roster decisions. I thought of both of you. Kevin Denke in his media availability specifically cited his XG number for the year, saying that number needs to be higher. He needs to get himself and get better scoring opportunities because he needs to perform more and he wants to win the Golden Boot next year. But, for all the talk of games not played on a spreadsheet, mate, these numbers are being paid attention to by people. And
why are you booing him? He's right.
Right. Yeah. And
if he had the XG number of Bawanga based on his overperformance of XG, he would have won the Golden Boot, right? Or it would have been in the discussion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that they're worrying about that, though. I think
I'm sure he played a part in that, but like he's not the only person that contributes to his XG.
Right. I mean, look, to be perfectly honest, I think the striker has like a lot of times the least amount of blame. Like strikers and goalkeepers are weirdly tied in this way, in that they, in a lot of ways, have the least amount of blame for their individual performances relative to how other players are then judged on their own performances. Like if you never pass them the ball, they will never score. So it's hard to say that like the striker was really bad when they didn't score, or likewise, you could take a million shots.
It's possible.
A little.
It's possible that somebody with who more exhaustively analyzes like the video and the whatever it is, Second Spectrum or whoever does their like extra video these days. It's possible somebody looks at it and they're like, yeah, Denke's movement wasn't just up to par. But like from a moron standpoint,
right,
all season you look at it and you're like, oh, he doesn't get enough touches in the box. And his conversion rate is crazy good.
Yes.
Right.
Let's get him more touches in the box.
But again,
maybe he's not putting himself in the position to get touches in the box.
The moron thing though is that he drops too far. Like he's too far up the field. It's like, I want my striker to get more touches in the box. For the love of Christ, stop coming back to the other side of midfield for the ball. Go get forward.
Maybe he's being told to. Maybe he's being told what he's told.
I agree that he's possibly being told to do that, but then again, it's like, then stop telling him to do that. Like, get him
for sure.
Right. Yeah, stop telling him to do that,
or figure out something else.
Yes. Completely.
Figure out
agree.
another way to move the ball forward. And I think maybe the way they figured out to move the ball forward, and what Taylor Twellman was talking about, is we're going to get to learn to love watching Ayoub Jabari start in the game, and he's going to be the one coming back. He's going to win balls in the air and then play it off to Evander, and then Denke is going to be the one, forward or whatever.
But literally try everything except learning how to pass. Yes. I would love to see a way to move the ball forward that involved movement and passes into space and running into space and just being kind of active. Soccer.
Being an active participant in the game.
Yeah.
Lucas Engel, where are we at on him? I am not surprised that his option wasn't picked up yet. But on the other hand, too, they're awfully thin at wing back if Lucas Engel isn't coming back. I don't know that he justified the salary number that he will have to be on, along with the buy that he would have to be on. Are we expecting Engel will be a pickup or not when it's all said and done?
I think it could go either way. I think that they can afford him fine, assuming the transfer number isn't insane. Just for reference, Middlesbrough purchased him for $2 million a couple of years ago. I don't know if they're just looking to break even or looking to turn a profit there. I think if you do get a number around there on his current salary, you do keep him as a sort of mid to high TAM player, which is where all of our defenders seem to be, with the exception of Nick Hagland. I think it's fine. I think the question really is, though, what are you doing with that left wing back spot? Are we chalking this up to a weird year for Luca Orishano and we think we can get him right next year? Is Engel supposed to be the starting left center back and Hadebi's the backup? I don't know what the plan is necessarily with Engel's position, but I don't think I want him as the starting left wing back with or without Orishano. And it seems really expensive to have him and Hadebi there on that left side.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the roster this time or a couple months from now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised really either way.
Mm-hmm.
His base salary number this year was $750,000. So if you give him any transfer fee, you're pushing his
it's well
annual budget charge north of $1 million.
Yeah.
Which is in isolation, not a crazy number for Lucas Engel, but for a guy who doesn't quite fit at wingback and you played a lot out of position at left center back, it's a lot of money to spend for a guy when you could just sign somebody who plays either position.
Right.
And I like Lucas. I thought he was a really great member of the squad this year.
Yeah.
But it would be wild to bring him on anything other than close to a free, unless he's also coming with a salary reduction, not because I want him to make less, but because I have to kind of pocket watch the salary budget cap for FC Cincinnati a little bit. And you end up I just don't love it when the team has multiple situations. I love that they're ambitious, but it feels like every year they have multiple contracts that they didn't need to have, dragging down the budget. Another example at the other wingback side was, we all love DeAndre Yedlin. It was a crazy amount of money to pay for a fullback to come play right wingback when you could have had Santiago Arias on an option.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, we'll try to negotiate down Arias's option. Well, oops, he's elsewhere. Now we're going to pay more for DeAndre Yedlin.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think Yedlin's the wrong example, though. I think the right example is Luca Orishano. It's the other wing. Like, you would be paying for one wingback who was probably pound for pound the most disappointing member of the FC Cincinnati squad this year. That's already a contract that's an albatross. Like, I hope the team finds a way to move on from it and finds a loan spot for him. But it wouldn't have been
an albatross if he had produced like he did last year.
Well, see, that's the thing.
But he didn't.
Right,
that's
right.
the problem.
But you knew what you were going to get out of Yedlin. I think it's fair to assume that Orishano would have performed similarly the following year.
Well, I mean, either way, he didn't. And so, but the baseline you were starting with when you paid Orishano was a lot higher than the baseline you're starting with in terms of performance for Lucas Engel. And if you've got Orishano making damn near max TAM, I don't know how you can also go and pay over $1 million of salary budget charge for Lucas Engel on the other side. Now, if you're getting rid of Orishano, if you've got a loan spot with an option to buy, kind of like a Barreal situation, okay, maybe I'm more interested in hearing about Lucas Engel on over $1 million. But you can't go into 2026 with your two presumptive starting wingbacks as Luca Orishano at over $1 million of salary budget charge and or close to max TAM of salary budget charge, and Lucas Engel at over $1 million of salary budget charge. That's just a lot of money.
I agree with that. I think Engel is just so context specific.
Yeah.
Right. So where I think that, I think it's, I'm not expecting him on the roster next year, but you could tweak a couple of things and
change my mind.
He certainly makes sense. And I'm not going to be bothered if he's on the roster next year. I'll be, happy to see him again.
Yeah. On the Orishano point, though, Chief, I just want to tease this idea out a little bit more. We're done with Orishano. We think there's no redemption for him next year coming back.
He was so bad this year. I don't know how you count on him to do anything next year. And if what you are projecting for Luca Orishano is that low in terms of your expectations next season, you've got to find a way to move out of it and find somebody that can be a higher ceiling on that salary spot. Like, you cannot go in. That's Gerard Niekamp type FC Cincinnati. When you are going into a season and you've got a guy on damn near close to max TAM, and the thought is, well, maybe he can scrape together a couple of goals. It's like, no, like, you got to move on from that. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe if we find out that he was nursing some awful injury all year, that like he's getting taken care of in the off season, maybe. But I mean, you tell me, like, was there any point this year where you thought Luca Orishano looked good? I mean, he started as a second striker and looked horrible, like actively hurting the offense. They moved him to inverted winger and he looked horrible. They moved him back to the other side as wingback and he looked, I'll say, less than horrible, but like still not good. It just never, from the jump with his contract situation to the end of the year, it felt like he never got on track. And that's just way too much money to be uncertain about from my point of view.
Yeah, I think these are all fair points. Yeah, there isn't anything that is like screaming out to me that like, no, we got to bring him back. It's just that 2024 year was so good. And obviously relative to his salary, he was on the league minimum then. But setting that aside, like, he was an all-star. He was scoring bangers for fun. Like, he was on such a tear. He was an absolute terror for opposing defenses. His willingness and ability to take them on was so incredible. I mean, this is sort of the crazy thing is, like, I've seen the ceiling and I've seen the floor. And it's just like, if you have any guarantee in hedging it more towards ceiling than the floor, then I'm interested in taking the risk. If it's completely out of my hands, I think I'm moving it out of the way. So yeah,
I think
that's not great.
It's not his fault. I don't think it's his fault. I think that, well, it might be his fault. I have no clue. I mean, God knows what, like, he's going on behind the scenes. I have no idea. But he is one of those people where, I forget which in the pundit class said this about FC Cincinnati, where they built a roster to work with Lucho Acosta, and then that got short-circuited the minute he decided to give his press conference and force his way out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I do think that over the next, over this next window, I think we are going to see potentially, some decisions made about what does this team look like when we're building it around the players we have now, as opposed to building a roster that can thrive with Lucho Acosta as the team captain in the fulcrum. And I don't wonder if Luca Orishano is an example of that, of a guy who was built for FC Cincinnati 2.0 or whatever 0.0 it was with Lucho, and that the future of this squad is who are the players that can play around Evander or Denke or Brenner or whoever it is that they've decided are their core of players that are going to be the ones that drive the engine going forward.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. So the players that were picked up and the players that we do have, we end up picking up the contract options on Brian Anunga, which I think was well earned this year, Teenage Hidebi, Steven Jimenez, which Grayson, you pointed out, not a new contract, so we don't owe DC money yet.
Unless there was an incentive, but
right,
it doesn't trigger the second contract
clause, which was 300,000 GAM, folks, if Steve hadn't re-signs. Evan Loro, Kenji Momodem, and Matt Miazga all re-signed. So that means as of time of recording, your roster is Roman Celentano, Evan Loro, Paul Walters as your goalkeepers, defenders Hilberto Flores, Teenage Hidebi, Nick Haglin, Matt Miazga, Miles Robinson, Alvaro Barrial, but only technically. He's still on loan through the end of the year. We'll touch on that in a second. You got Anunga in the midfield with Buca, Echenike, Guidi, Jimenez, Wobodo, Orishano, and Valenzuela. At forward, it is only Stefan Shirilla, Kevin Denke, Kenji Momodem. Wow.
Did you know Ayub Jabari?
Jabari has still not been purchased yet. We're pretty confident I think we're pretty confident that that's going to happen just from various hashtag sources. Caveat to what you said, Kevin. They picked up the option on Matt Miazga. I think specifically he is a player to keep an eye on for a lot of reasons. I don't think that there is any reality where Matt Miazga is on this club on an option next year. I think one of two things is going to happen. I think that either Matt Miazga and the team are going to be able to come to some sort of a new contract that extends the term of years and reduces the amount of money that he's making yearly, or he will be sent somewhere in league who will pay him more what he is looking for, and FC Cincinnati will reap some sort of, financial incentive for doing so. But every instinct I have on this subject, not the least of which is some of Laurel Failer's noting of this topic, considering how close she's been to reporting a lot of Matt Miazga issues in particular. I do not expect that Matt or the club wants him to be playing here on an option contract, on this option year contract next year.
Yeah. I find the Matt Miazga situation very interesting because, look, if he was that hurt that long, I don't know that you need to bring him back. Like, obviously he's a vocal leader on this defense, but it's been 3 years in a row where he's not available in the playoffs. He was hardly available for most of this year. He obviously missed most of last year with injury. If it's not Matt Miazga, if this is another sort of generic player, I don't think anybody's clamoring to bring him back.
Yeah, I think we're a lot of us, myself included, it's hard to forget how good Matt Miazga was before he got hurt. Yeah. And also to the idea of it felt like he got hurt again as he was rounding into something that was closer to his previous form. But you don't know what that's going to look like. You don't know what the timetable on that is. You don't know what kind of player comes back. You don't know what kind of player comes back mentally from all this, because he's a guy that's been pretty healthy through the majority of his career. He had a dominant run of form here in Cincinnati. And we know what Nick Hagelin looks like as an aging center back. And I don't say aging. It's funny to say aging for a guy that's, I think, significantly younger than I am. But
right.
You don't know what the next phase of Matt Miazga's game is going to look like as some of the physical tools perhaps disappear, what that impacts his ability as to what he can do on the field, and how he mentally responds to that as well. Like what is his mental game like when he has to be more sly and crafty as opposed to a blunt force object that he's been for the majority of his career. So yeah, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to bring him back, but I think that the other thing that's at play here too is that you ask, whose team is this? Yeah. The answer previously was some combination of Lucho Acosta and Matt Miazga. Mm-hmm. I don't know whose team this is right now in terms of who's the person that walks into the locker room or the dressing room at Mercy Health and says after a loss, this is not the standard. Or who's the person after a 4-0 defeat that says this is not the standard. This is not what we do here. I know who I think that was previously. I don't know who that is right now. And I think that that's a problem.
I'm not sure, based on the post game and then media availability performances, that anybody but Kevin Denke thinks that it wasn't good enough. I mean, you had a lot of guys kind of say like, oh, we didn't meet our goals or whatever. But I didn't hear nobody seemed frustrated.
Well, they lost to Jesus. That's the problem in their mind, is that they lost to a higher power, and that's really annoying.
Yeah. And that's, that's annoying. That's what we're getting into, like rise and fall of the Roman Empire territory. But the problem with Matt, it's not a problem with Matt. It's a problem with the negotiation posture. Is he didn't have a run of post-injury games where he was like fully recuperated, where you can evaluate where he's at. I know this is like very similar to what Chief was talking about, but in a salary cap league, especially, you want to pay players at the right level at the right time.
For what they are, like, not what they were.
Like Nashville probably would have loved to have a designated player who wasn't Walker Zimmerman this year.
Yeah.
Or they would have loved to have the ability to do the 2DP 4U22 model and get the $2 million in GAM bonus. I can tell you, of those three options, the one that they least would have liked is having Walker Zimmerman on a designated player deal this year. And it, to some extent, that's unavoidable because you don't know how contracts are going to go. You're almost always going to end up paying a guy at a certain level, if he's good, and you want to lock him down you're almost always going to keep somebody on a little more money than you want to pay them for a little bit longer. But they have a weird opportunity where they have Matt either on an option, right? Or he could have gotten a free agency. So they don't have to make a decision on what to pay him right now. And I think where Matt rates himself and what the team would feel comfortable paying him for a multi-year deal are very different numbers.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. And I don't blame either party.
No.
In that calculation.
No, this is Matt's last opportunity for a big deal.
Yeah. And so if this was but I think you had to, maybe Matt wasn't pumped when he got that information, but I think from FC Cincinnati's standpoint, you have to exercise the option because that's what gives you leverage
Yeah.
to either get Matt to take a deal that you're comfortable with, or find a destination where they're going to give him a contract that he's happy with.
Yeah.
And you get some cash.
Obviously, yeah, and you get some assets.
Yeah.
In exchange, right? Whether it's GAM or a cash for or whatever. It doesn't feel like a cash for situation to me, because I don't know who's making him a designated player, and if you don't make him a designated player, the money situation gets a little wonky.
You'd be transferring him for like 100,000 GAM, which is basically a trade anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see him back. And I think the situation obviously you hate the most is you trade him and he's back to his old self, right? But everybody's working off of incomplete information. So I think this is the type of thing that I have confidence that in Chris Albright to manage.
Yeah. I don't worry that Albright is going to get taken to the cleaners on a deal like this. I don't think. Although, no. I mean, we have a designated player center back now, though. So who knows?
I don't know what whatever.
We'll dedicate more time to that later. Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is that FC Cincinnati has a reputation of doing right by these guys, particularly, U.S. men's national team folks, and making sure that they're set up nicely in whatever they're doing. So, yeah, I assume, Matt is going to end up in a good spot for him. So you got that going on. And I mentioned it briefly here. Alvaro Barreal, doing some math here. It does look like Barreal has just about hit his automatic trigger. I know, was it CR Merlot?
CL, I think.
CL down in South America, usually got a pretty good sense of where transfers are happening, has already indicated about a month ago at this point that Santos is prepared to pick up the $4 million purchase option for Barreal. Barreal is on a tear for Santos, despite Santos not being very good this year, absolutely fighting for their lives. They're just barely hanging on above the relegation zone. And I don't know how that would impact this deal. I think regardless, if he's not sold to Santos, somebody in Brazil will take him. I think he scored like 8 or 10 goals, something like that for them down there. He's been remarkable. Honestly, I'm looking at it going, man, we could have used 8 to 10 goals from our left back this year. It could have been nice. But I am, as far as my sort of conception of this roster, I have already baked in the full amount of GAM conversion from an outgoing transfer via the Barreal trade or sale, and him not being on the team. So if you have any inkling of him being back here, I would just go ahead and say,
nope.
Do away with it. Like I said, he's played well enough to end up on somebody else's team down there.
Kevin, where do you have us sitting in terms of resources right now on your spreadsheet?
So this is I'm given as Nick Haglin's on a supplemental deal, which doesn't count against us. Counting Kenji as a nearly $200,000 player. I'm going to assume he's making less than that. And same with Anunga. I just gave Anunga basically double his salary. And I'm bringing Matt Miazga back on the number that I think he is on with his option, which is like $1.7 million.
I think it's less.
1.65.
I think it's less.
Even less than that?
I would say like 1.5. And here's why I think that. 2 data points. One is I don't want to blow up her spot. Okay. And I am going to fully accept the fact that maybe I'm reading too much into it. Okay. So I don't want anyone to put this on our friend Laurel, but she did respond to one of my tweets and say like something along the lines of sometimes sometimes options are less than the previous year's contract price, which like, I think she said that for a reason, but maybe it was just a random comment directed toward nobody. Okay. But if you look at the MLS Players Association salary guide, Matt Miazga's base salary this year was like 1.575 million, something along those lines. And then if you look at the guaranteed compensation number, it's the exact same. Okay. The guaranteed compensation number includes like certain bonuses, but it also includes option years, and it's annualized over the remaining term of the contract. So for Matt, the only years were this year guaranteed and next year as an option. So if you take into account the possibility that his guaranteed compensation number includes some bonuses, which would raise it, then for it to be the exact same number as his base salary must mean that the salary of the option year must be a little bit lower. So it's very possible. So
that's interesting.
I again, that's cards on the table. That's the data that I'm going off of. So if anybody wants to disagree, like I think his option number is a little lower just based on those data points.
Yeah.
I could be wrong and people can disagree. I don't care.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I don't know exactly how much money we've rolled over from the previous year. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to assume none, but I'm going to also assume that is wrong. We have probably moved something over. I know the last public numbers we put out there showed $0 in GAM. I think that was because they had already designated that money as having rolled over. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you do all of that and you take our current rosters we already laid out. I think we have a little bit more than $5 million, potentially up to $6 million to play with to fill out, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roster spots. It's not bad. You can afford, as we talked about with Lucas Engel, like 5 players at $1 million a piece.
But the thing to remember is all of the discretionary slots are basically spoken for.
Yeah. So U22s and DPs are all taken. Absolutely.
Yes. So
one of which
this is like a real, right. This is like a real $5 million, meaning like dollar for dollar transfer fees and salaries have to be accounted for in this. It's not like you have $5 million in budget space and you can have a U22 who only hits it like 250 and a DP that hits it whatever it is next year, 750 or 8, whatever the DP number is next year. I don't remember off the top of my head. So that is significant money. You can get good players for it, but you do have to be like really pinching your pennies on what transfer fees and salary numbers you negotiate.
There is that. Now, just to give people a sense of maybe the profile of player that we'd be looking for here, players that also meet these sort of rough parameters include Matt Miazga, Luca Orishano, Pavel Buka, Teenage Hidebi, and Obino Wobodo. So I think there's still some talent out there that we could accumulate.
They could be good or they could be bad.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Obi now. We've had to pay a transfer fee to get Obi, and it made him a designated player. Matt Miazga, we got on a free from Chelsea in a situation that's probably unlikely to replicate itself again. Like,
we said that before, but I'm just saying these are the types of players. We got a Premier League defender for free one year. Like we got Luca Orishano for free one year.
I wouldn't hold your hopes up that you're going to find a guy that like a big 6 club is just going to say, here, have them in the January window.
You're not going to get all of Obi, Miazga, Orishano out of that
No.
$5 million.
No, but I'm just saying.
Chiefs ball.
Yeah, no.
Teenage Mbuka, though, absolutely fit the profile that we're looking at here. So,
Yeah, well, both
There
those
you go.
players were bad this year too for long stretches of the season. So fodder for another episode.
All right, let's head on over to part 2, and then we'll get you out of here. All right, we are back, and well, this episode's going to release in December, but we're recording it on November 30th, which means we are not late on this one. We've got November Patreon questions to answer, and we're here to answer them. And if you would like to join these fine people, well, for paying $2 a month, you too can join the Patreon. You get your name in highlighter pink on the Discord, and you get your question asked and answered on the postcast. And that's what we're doing here right now with Tom Beaversdorf, who asks, why a long line of ellipses, a crying frowny face, why? Anybody want to take a stab at this?
Because if anyone would do
Because
it,
there
it
is
wouldn't
no
be worth
God and he
anything.
hates you.
Because if anyone could do it, it wouldn't be worth doing.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Because your team's owner voted in a closed door boardroom to allow one of their competing teams to tap into a pool of money that is unavailable for any other team in the league from their television provider, Apple, and their kit provider, Adidas, to pay the salary of a superstar player that the owner of this said club could not afford to entice over here on merit. And then as a result of that vote that your team's owner made, your team then lost in an elimination game when they were competing for a trophy. So that's the answer.
And then Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Post hoc,
Both of
ergo
those
propter hoc.
Linked. And Chief is right. She retires the day after her
pension hits.
her pension hits.
I saw that there were like 1 million accounts on Twitter with that same comment. I'm like, this is bots. This is bots and AI.
Everything is bots and AI.
That is true, actually. Price Assassins asks, seems like we all agree that this team was the most complete group FCC has put together. If that is true, how do we square the fact that they just look so ordinary on the pitch? Did we overestimate the talent, or did the squad underperform?
I think it's what we talked about earlier. What I said earlier is that this is undeniably the deepest and most talented group of players FC Cincinnati has ever had. That doesn't necessarily mean that the talents that they have work together.
Yeah.
And you know, you can point to a number of directions as to where that's coming from. You can say, well, the general manager should perhaps do a better job of picking players that fit, or maybe the coach needs to do a better job of adapting what they're doing to fit the skill set of the players that have been made available to him. I don't know the answer to that. And also it can be the case that this was a very talented FC Cincinnati team that for whatever reason, you know, just never got on track. And it happens from time to time where it's nobody's really no one fault of one person or one thing. It just didn't work the way that they thought it would because it's human beings involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Chris Albright went on local radio and he said this was like the best and deepest team we've ever had. And he said it's one of the deepest teams he's seen in MLS. Okay. Now, maybe he was wrong about that. And, you know, maybe one of the fans or whatever can say, you know, I don't agree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you know more than Chris Albright. You know, I think a more interesting discussion out of that is like, okay, if he's wrong and like a random fan can point out to like can point out that he's wrong and why he's wrong, that raises very troubling questions that I'm not prepared to deal with. So I'm going to assume he's right. And then I think the questions flow from that premise that Chris Albright was right about the talent on the roster. What went wrong. And, I think that a variety of things. One is, I think I think that some players on the roster have a ton of talent and don't play up to their level of talent for a variety of reasons. I think that Miles plays small, and I think that Evander is always not locked in. And we were complaining, at least I was complaining early in the season about how often Evander gets caught sleeping and just knocked off the ball.
Yeah.
Just because there's a guy behind him that he probably should have known about. We saw a goal against Miami start that exact way. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that definitely part of it is on the players and whether they are locked in, hungry enough to maximize their talent. And then I think some of it is on the coaching staff not getting as much out of the team this year and not thinking about different ways to get more out of the team and trying different things over the course of the season that got more out of the team. And so I think that it's those two things. And I don't want to be too hard. I really don't want to be a hater or too hard on anybody, but I think it is those two things.
I think to a large extent too, this is going to be a recurring theme throughout the offseason, and I'm curious to see what happens here. This very much feels like a team that needs new ideas, not necessarily new leadership, but new ideas. It feels like in football terms, it feels like a team that needs a passing game coordinator or someone that comes in and is okay, you have talent on this team. And occasionally, your Jamar Chase is so good, he gets himself open by just being physically better than the other guy. What if you tried doing this, this, and this, and it creates a hole in the defense they cannot fill, and Jamar Chase is there and he's wide open and can run for a touchdown? That's what is missing right here is, hey, you don't need to change everything about what your team is. You might not even need to change the formation. But if you thought about doing this and adapting some new ideas into the existing schema. And so I really do hope there's some openness for that on this team, because it just feels from the outside looking in that it is screaming for either a new voice in the room to help, get what the coaching staff wants across, or some new ideas for the coaching staff that maybe might modernize a little bit about what's going on with this team.
This probably would be received as offensive.
Never stopped us in the past
by its intended audience. But Chip Kelly is unemployed. What if we showed Chip Kelly just a bunch of offensive sequences and asked his thoughts about how the team is using space and how movement and how the players are moving against the defenders? And look, in every other sphere, in every other industry, you talk to people from other industries who might have things to say about your supply chain or your management structure or stuff, who don't know anything about your product that you're selling.
Right.
Okay. And companies hire CEOs all the time who came from a company that doesn't sell what they sell. Right. But they know how to run an organization.
Yeah.
Okay. They know how to do stock buybacks, right?
They're great at layoffs.
Why do we think that the only minds that can kind of offer any insights on like offensive movement and ball movement are like people who happen to be already employed by MLS. Like why do we assume that like, you know, an offensive like basket, like Mark D'Antonio doesn't like have anything to say about like ball movement, or like Chip Kelly can't help you figure out like how to use space on half of 120-yard field.
Hell, I'd call up whoever just won the AFL Aussie rules. That's a big ass field with a lot of guys running around on it, where you're looking to try and find people running in space to kick the ball to. Why not just like watch this footage and tell me where it's going wrong?
And if you think I'm crazy, I watched an interview with Bruce Arena where he says he has learned as much or more by talking to coaches in other sports than
That's
he has
true.
talking to like other soccer coaches. So yeah, maybe Bruce Arena doesn't know what he's talking about. Just like you can build a better roster than Chris Albright can. You know, I have humility. Okay, I bring humility to this. I think we can learn from lots of people.
The little thing I'll add is working or not working feels very binary. I think it would be interesting to see how far off we were from this not working and not clicking, because I think the bones are there and we cannot deny the ultimate results that existed over the course of the season. I would be curious to know on a percentage how far away was this team from fully unlocking its full potential or not. I would be willing to bet it was closer to 100% than not. And that can inspire you or depress you as you wish. Drew0001 asks, if this is the most deep team the MLS has ever seen, per Chris Albright, then why didn't Noonan make a substitution after the halftime break?
Because the
Drew,
best players,
I'm going to say it's,
best players are already in the field.
The best option was already there. Yeah.
There's in reality, there is very little that a substitute is going to do to change a match most of the time. Like most of the guys are on the bench for a reason. And if you valued them and they had that much game changing potential, they would have probably been starting in most of those cases. Now there's exceptions, but
yeah,
you know, the 5 sub rule has really mitigated a lot of the value of fresh legs, because every team can basically hockey change half their lineup to get fresh legs on the field. So you don't even get that benefit of, this player is going to be running against tired players for the entire second half. No, he's not. They're going to sub on fresh people to defend and protect the lead. So I don't know. Like I didn't see it. It was an ass whipping. I didn't see anything that Noonan should have done differently in, this player should have been on the field or that player should have been on the field. Maybe Obi should have been on the field earlier, just because it seemed like Guidi was hero worshiping everyone that he was playing against and not actually trying to win a soccer game. I don't know. But like, other than that.
Yeah. DeDrizzle says, easiest $110 I've ever made. Living in this sports town my whole life for these big games. How can you not bet against this city, Chief? How much did you rake in?
I can't. Like, the odds were so shit for Miami. It was like not worth betting it. Like, at least when we crapped the bed to Columbus in the Eastern Conference Finals, they were the dogs. So you could put a little bit of money and sprinkle it around and actually get some decent return out of it. But we were the underdog in this situation. You had to lay out a lot of cash on Inter Miami in order to make any real money on this game. So I didn't win anything. I got just screwed.
It sounds like DeDrizzle did do exactly that.
Yeah.
So
by the time the game kicked off, I think we were like that. Miami was like a plus 200, minus 200, minus 190 favorite to win the game. Like it was tough scenes. Vegas knew.
Moomba asks, how are you doing today? Grayson, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Chief, how you doing today?
Doing delightful. We went over to the in-laws, decorated the tree over there, watched Christmas Vacation.
Nice.
The Buccaneers held on to win by 3 against a terrible Arizona team. You know, it's just a nice little day. Would have been better if Florida didn't poach my team's head coach. I know Grayson doesn't understand anything about this, living at in the penthouse of college sports. But when you're in the lower decks, anytime your guy is worth a damn, he's immediately on the next flight to Gainesville or wherever else in the SEC. Don't love that we're doing that ahead of a potential appearance in the college football playoffs, which is just unfathomable to think about. But overall, good.
It's funny if there's 2 playoff teams playing without their coach.
It'd be hilarious. It's the likelihood right now, I think.
It would be so embarrassing for college football.
Yes. The calendar's broken, first off. But
they got to go to the Euro calendar.
Yeah, obviously.
The Euro college calendar, the Euro portal doesn't open until August. Everybody knows this.
But it just cracks me up. And I understand there's more to it than this, but you're going to leave Tulane, a team that is currently playing for a national title, will more than likely be in the college football playoffs and will be just a couple of games away from winning a national title. You're going to leave that to go to a team in a school that is not remotely close to competing for a national title because it is a school where you can compete for a national title. It just doesn't make sense.
I'm not bothered by it. He's making $8 million with no state income tax. And yeah, like theoretically speaking, if he does his job well, he will have a much better chance of winning a national title at the University of Florida than they would at Tulane. But
who gets fired first, Chief? The Tulane coach or Lane Kiffin?
Probably Lane Kiffin.
Kiffin might not make through the first season.
Kiffin is not going to do well at LSU. Like that is
I don't know why anybody hires him.
I don't know why anyone goes to work at LSU. Like that's a fan base and in a situation where they are just firmly divorced from how reality works in modern college athletics. Like they still think it's 2005. And they have some birthright of the fact that, well, we're in recruiting rich Louisiana. We should be competing for a national title every year. No, you will occasionally get everybody together that you need to through the portal and occasionally have a quality, set up to go win a national title. But by and large, you're not going to be able to hoard great backups anymore. They're going to play someplace else and make money. It's just a different reality than you think it is. It's like coaching at Nebraska. Those people are stuck in the 1950s. It's just they kill careers because the boosters and the fan base just don't understand how shit works.
Yeah,
it's the SEC. The SEC is tough because like there's a lot of teams that are huge fan bases, got a ton of money, ton of boosters, and like really for the most part, like your window is like until Alabama fires Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
Like if Alabama figures it out, you guys are back to being, frankly, where you are now.
Right.
Which is like, if you have a good year, you can get through, but like it's tough. And like, obviously Georgia's still there. Right. So you have like a bunch of teams that think that they are that think that they should be competing for the national championship every single year, when really the only team that realistically should have that expectation is Alabama.
The problem with everything about college athletics right now, for college football, I'm going to limit to college football right now and set aside the problems with recruiting, set aside the calendar, set aside the transfer portal, set aside the fact that every kid now is on a 1-year deal. There's nothing that keeps people long term.
Yeah.
College football right now, with the way your path is to the national title, is set up completely wrong. If the setup of college football and the college football playoff era is that we're going to give so much deference to your conference champions and that you've got a situation where the way the current format is now is that the top 5 conference champions are automatically in the college football playoff. It makes no sense to be in a 20-team super conference. You'd be better off breaking the SEC in half, and then each half of the SEC at 10 teams is competing with less of a pool in order to get one of those automatic slots. Like, having these huge conferences in the college football playoff era is dumb as hell. Like, smaller conferences, more automatic qualifiers, get away from this nonsense where, we're making this amalgam of 30, teams that are the best teams in the South. They exist now only for TV revenue, but they don't actually make it any easier for you to win a title.
Yeah. I like it, Chief. I've actually had that same thought with World Cup qualifying. As the pool increases and increases and increases, I think that the confederation should be broken into smaller and smaller pieces, so that, to me anyway, I think one of the core tenets of the World Cup is not necessarily the best of the world, although that's certainly a part of it. It is also geographic representation. And I think, like, for example, having one representative guaranteed out of the Caribbean, one representative guaranteed out of Southeast Asia, one representative guaranteed out of the Middle East, or, 2 or 3 out of these different regions, I think makes for a more interesting and diverse field. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. The other thing is, I finally figured out why Ohio State is so hell-bent on taking the private equity money. You're going to need all that money to pay the lawyers to join the SEC. Stay woke. Ohio State's going rogue, baby.
So I want to. So if you look at Lane Kiffin's career, right, he has been the head coach at Tennessee, USC, Florida Atlantic, and Ole Miss, not LSU
and
yet.
The Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, but like, it was a joke when he got the Oakland Raiders head coaching job. Like, everybody made fun of it, and they were terrible.
He was a Nepo hire because his father is like a legend of one of the top 5 defensive coordinators of all time.
Yeah, right. His championships as a head coach. Again, he's been at 4 head coach of 4 colleges, 3 like, I don't know, arguably blue blood colleges.
Yeah.
I think that's flattering Tennessee and Ole Miss, but
sure.
Don't let a Tennessee or Ole Miss fan hear that.
Upper echelon of the college football.
Hold on. Time out. There is very few better environments when the team is rocking and rolling than Tennessee and Neyland Stadium. Like, don't get it twisted. If they could get their shit figured out, Tennessee is absolutely a powerhouse in college athletics.
Yeah, they can stretch bands like nobody's business. So his championships as a head coach are 2 Conference USA championships, and that's it.
Yeah, that's Florida Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he won nothing at Tennessee, nothing at USC, nothing at Ole Miss.
And nothing in Oakland.
And he's going to get like the best job the rest of his life. And I find him incredibly off-putting.
Yeah,
personality wise. So I don't know. I mean, I guess this is why I don't get hired for head coaching jobs, because I don't know. I don't know what it takes. I would think that you would have to have a established track record of winning, certainly to get hired at multiple big jobs. You should have a track record of winning. I guess that's not correct.
He has like an SEC name, though. Like, Lane Kiffin just sounds like the name of a good old boy that's coaching down south.
I like it. Red Lee asks, when will the post Cincy host a Mamelodi Sundowns FC watch party? I'm looking at you, Chief. When are we doing that?
As soon as I can figure out how to watch them regularly on television. Like, I think we talked about this in an episode a while ago. The amount of time I spend trying to find a bootleg stream to watch their games, and I've watched a few this year. I I'm pretty confident I've given my computer every type of virus that you can give a MacBook. It's very difficult. I am begging quite literally any streaming platform of like with any reputability to pick up the South African leagues. I don't think that's in the cards for Apple right now, but if I can figure out a way to get the games in a reputable manner such that they can be shown at a bar somewhere, I'm not opposed to that. That'd be a blast.
Daniel David asks, what is a band you have seen multiple times? Chief, you got a couple answers here?
More than a few answers. I'm eager to hear Grayson's answer to this question first, and then I'll chime in.
Me too.
I mean, I've seen a few bands multiple times, but I'll throw out the Flaming Lips.
Kevin?
I'm trying to think like of a band that anybody has heard of. I don't think I have seen multiple times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not even our good
Not
friends
really
Jim Trace and the Makers.
Okay, I've seen Jim Trace and the Makers multiple times and in multiple variations and sort of setups there. Yeah, like my brother's bands I've seen multiple times. But no, like I'm not really a concert guy. Like
he asked for one band, so Jim Trace and the Makers.
Jim Trace and the Makers is my band then.
Chief, don't say Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah, you can't say Dave Matthews Band. You got to name another one.
Yeah, I've seen them a few more times than one. I'm gonna go with Dispatch. Great college rock band. Seen them a couple of times. Most recently, I saw them out in Boston at the Fenway Music Hall. I've seen them at Red Rocks before. Seen them here locally as well. Always a good time. Broke up for a bunch of years. Came back sounding a little bit more like Simon and Garfunkel than they did back in the day. But fantastic. One of my favorite acts of all time. I do love live music. I'm a huge live music enthusiast. I wish I could see more concerts. Cincinnati is not a great city to live in when it comes to attracting live acts. We've always historically been skipped for bands to go to places like Indianapolis and Columbus. So I'm hoping that's starting to change a little bit. But yeah, I love a good concert. And once I find a band I like, I do tend to see them, multiple times, like places where I've, they're an hour away. I'll drive and go see them.
Man, interesting. I just don't have that instinct. It's so funny. And especially if I've seen a band once, in my head, I've mentally checked it off. I'm like, yep, saw them. We don't need to do that again. I
mean, the other thing too is that like my music taste does tend to skew a little more towards like the jam band scene.
Right.
And famously, you're not going to see the same show on Monday that you see on Tuesday, which it is the music genre that rewards repeat listening, so to speak, or repeat attendance.
That absolutely tracks. That I see the appeal of there. Yeah. So
and then it's like, collecting Pokemon cards where you're just like, you're going to see like, hey, I'm trying to catch this song that's been on play a lot this tour. And then, you get mad afterwards when it's like, yeah, they always, when they play Cincinnati, they just play the hits.
So, Chief, let me ask you, Dave Matthews Band, do you have a list of all of the songs you have seen live?
Oh, yeah. There's like multiple websites you can sign up for to track all this. So,
okay, nice.
Yeah. No, come on. I'm not an amateur here.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Austin Bruff says, my wedding was this weekend, 11/22. It's the last weekend. And my wife's aunt got me a signed kit by all of the players and had our names and date put on the kit.
That's awesome.
My question is, what is the coolest / best FC related gift you have ever gotten? Man, great question. I guess tickets. Tickets is always good. I got pitch view tickets.
Yeah, the problem is that I'm the FC guy. In amongst my family. Although my sister's up there now at this point. But so I don't get a lot of FC gifts. What I will say, I have gotten one really cool FC gift, and that was for Christmas in 2015. So this was ahead of the inaugural year. I got my father got me a quarter zip FC Cincinnati,
Nice.
that he went down and actually you had to ring the doorbell and someone had to come down in order to buy merch from the downtown location. So I was rocking FC Cincinnati gear well in advance of the first game being played, not to be like the hipster band fan.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention Chris and Jesse got me a wood FCC crest puzzle for officiating their wedding. That's going to count. Michael P. asks, in light of Chiefs' feelings about the calendar switch, what is the hottest soccer take each of you has had that was ultimately proven right? Was proven right. I'm going to say for me, I think that the 5 substitution rule was a bad idea to keep permanent. It was ultimately going to be a bailout to big clubs. And I think that has proven right. I know some of the leagues have tried to undo that in recent years and have failed, but I think it has allowed the larger teams to hoard more and more talent. And I think that has ultimately been bad. And I think I'm proven right on that one. Chief, now feels like a good time to bring up Corey Baird. Yeah, but I don't know how you feel about that in light of San Diego's performance. But
yeah, they lost, so I'm back.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're back.
I don't think I've ever had a hot take.
That actually sounds right.
I think after the iShow Speed incident, my take about FIFA ruining soccer fandom for the next generation is now very accurate.
I like it. Redbeard says Gotham just earned its spot in the NWSL final via a Rose Lavelle orchestrated set piece. She would later go on to score the game winner in the NWSL final. Assuming MLS does do a significant realignment when it shifts its schedule, should it follow the NWSL's lead and have a league-wide geography agnostic playoff that makes it more likely that the 2 best teams meet in MLS Cup final rather than the conference final?
Yes.
I think we're all in agreement. Yes.
Yes,
And
no doubt.
it sounds like MLS is in agreement. It does kind of sound like what they're going to do. Or
You've got plenty of time. You got plenty of time to travel.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We'll see exactly how the divisions play into this. I don't know if that's like an actual automatic qualification.
I thought it was automatic qualification, but like you're seated wherever you're seated. So
that
like
would make sense.
So the thinking I think was that like it would be rather unusual and unlikely for a team to win a division and not already qualify on the table.
Yeah.
Which means that it's going to happen and it's going to be very controversial.
I think having larger divisions will necessarily make it so you're less likely to get all of the bad teams in that division. Like
because the division is going to be done by like overall standings, not like in division standings. So
yeah. But yeah, like in the NFL with only 4 teams, it's very likely that all 4 teams are bad. Or not likely, but it's very possible that all 4 teams could be bad. And it's going to be really hard to say an entire 6 teams of MLS that all happen to be grouped together are all really bad simultaneously.
Right. Also, it's like in the NFL, your division games are like, I guess in with the expanded divisions, they will still be like a third of your games played, but you'll still have like, 24 games.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, it feels very unlikely, but yeah, a geographic agnostic playoffs. Let's go.
Yeah. Big agree. James Pooley says, now this was 2 weeks ago. I am curious how James did this, but he says, I have a British Airways flight at 9 p.m. on the 23rd. I have luggage to check in and TSA pre-check. How can I make the game and the flight? It's 9 p.m. Are we doing anything past halftime?
All right,
No,
so
wait, the game was at 5, right?
the game was at 5.
Oh, the game was at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
James,
that.
You'd have been fine.
You've been fine.
You got that.
Yeah. You well, what you got to do, did he say he's checking a bag?
Park in the garage.
He does say he has luggage to check, but he does have pre-check.
All right, valet.
Well,
You can
does he
valet or
have?
park
Does
in
he
the-
have? Yeah.
or if you have clear and you have pre-check, you're going to be fine getting through security. In terms of checking a bag, if you have status on the airline, you're going to get into the fast lane on that. Also, depending on situations, you may be able to go to the airport, check your bag in and check in for the flight, and then come back downtown and go to the game, and then park in the garage or valet and just walk straight through security with your bag already checked.
That's probably the safest thing. But I do think that with a 5 o'clock kick and, just park near the stadium, you're good. You can be at a 9.
Yeah.
9 p.m. flight, easy.
You might want to leave at stoppage time just to make sure that you get out ahead of stadium traffic, or park a block away, but try and find street parking as opposed to having parking that's, in a garage where you might get tied up. The other thing too is that, like, unless this is your first time flying internationally, the whole how early you need to get to the airport is kind of bullshit. Like, they say that you need to arrive later for an international flight. That's false, especially in a place like Cincinnati where there isn't like an international terminal that you have to get out to. As long as you have your passport, you've put all your information in whatever the app is for whatever airline you're flying, you're going to be able to get right through security. There's no extra security you go through for an international flight on the way out. You can show your passport to the gate agent, so you don't need to wait in line to do that. You don't need to arrive any earlier to the airport for an international flight than you do for a regular domestic flight. As long as you're giving yourself about an hour to an hour and a half, you're going to be fine.
The answer is a little different if this game goes to extra time and penalties.
Yeah.
You probably do have to go.
Yeah, you're going to leave at 90 minutes no matter what.
Yeah,
you're just watching the rest of the game on your phone.
Right. So, like, as long as you work backwards from a 9 p.m. flight, like, your goal is to be at the airport. If your bags are already checked, if you've already done the early check-in for your bags and all that, your goal is to be at the airport around like 7:45, and you work backwards from there as to when you leave the game itself.
Yeah, you could even stay for the first part of extra time.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. It would require, 2 garage passes, I think. You got to be able to get in and out of wherever you are.
Yeah.
Sean Pace asks, do you think the calendar shift will be as seismic to MLS in the 10 years after its implementation as the designated player was in 2007?
No. Designated player rule changed everything about MLS. Like, without the designated player rule, you don't get roster constructions the way they are today. Everybody has to fit in under your GAM, TAM, all that nonsense. The schedule change itself is meaningless unless they also change the roster rules in order to accommodate being able to buy this better talent. Like, the only thing the schedule change is going to do is it's going to allow teams to not have to sell their best players during the playoff run. And it's going to let them possibly get access to some slightly cheaper talent. But if they're not upping the number of designated players or changing that, the benefits of the schedule change are going to be minimal for this league, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly ownership dollars, right? Yeah. But you're still, if you're talking about the transfer market and significant transfer fees, you're still talking mostly about designated players. So, like, a player comes in at like a $10 million fee that maybe earlier would have been $14 million. DP either way, ownership, say $4 million. They don't get to spend that across the rest of the roster, really. So, I mean, unless you're like, well, then they can also spend $4 million more on their DPs and U22s. That all feels very marginal to me.
Right.
I think that if the mindset is we have the schedule change in tandem with big roster rules changes as part of this overall repositioning of the league, that's where the that's where the seismic changes come in. And this may be a part of that, but I agree with Chief that the schedule change is not on its own going to make that big of a difference to like the product on the field.
Yeah, I will say yes for this reason. And that is, one, the designated player started off hot with David Beckham. But if you go look at the history of designated players, it really took a couple of years for teams to sort of like understand what they were actually capable of doing and then eventually adding more. Originally, it was just one, and then they could like trade a second one potentially. It was very weird. But it took a little bit for the designated player to actually truly be that. For that equivalent, I think Major League Soccer will get more of the attention, the national sport attention, by repositioning its calendar. And maybe not necessarily national, but I think it will make these teams more relevant in their local markets. And I'm looking specifically at NYCFC, for example, as being potentially more relevant. Last question here. Assuming MLS, this is from Matt Reeder, assuming MLS sticks with their best of 3 playoff format, when do we see a team go full goon squad in a hopeless game 2 to gain an advantage in game 3? Say you're down 2-0 away with a red card. Pull the starters, put in the kids, and tell them the objective is to walk off the field with enough red cards for a 3-0 forfeit, ensuring the other team is battered and bruised for the last game. While probably unethical, I'm not sure there's any actual disincentive in the MLS rulebook, and there are definite competitive advantage coming into a game 3. So, Matt Reeder for manager win.
I love the energy here. I love the idea here. You know what the real problem with this is that the players are too soft to do this. There is too much of a fraternity among the actual players themselves to actually go out there and intentionally try to hurt some of their fellow competitors. Like back in the day, like there were hockey goon lines that used to do this all the time. They used to kill each other on the field in NFL games legally. Now, I think the modern player is too much all about the fraternity of fellow players and the unwritten code of we don't try to hurt. Because believe me, I was rooting for somebody to go out there and be a legend and go end Lionel Messi's career. Like go be the guy who's in the Wikipedia page that you shredded both of his knees. But nobody's going to do that because they all have too much, fellow competitor respect to care enough about winning.
It tells you a lot about how the mindset of soccer, where the goon behavior is to pretend to be fouled, to pretend to be hurt, right? It's not to like actually, foul and hurt the other team or intimidate the other team. It's to like be the biggest victim. Yeah. And wouldn't you say that that's kind of like the problem with this generation? It's all about victim mentality. Everyone's a victim all the time. that part, I'm just kidding about that part. Not really. Maybe. I don't know.
Really, not really. I don't know. Maybe. No, the ultimate
it was
goon,
Wilfred Nancy's bit. Yeah.
Yeah. The ultimate goon behavior in soccer is pretending to be killed when someone's head gets near you. The soccer headbutt, where the touching of foreheads leads to somebody flying back like they were just struck with a steel chair in Hell in a Cell. Yeah, that's what goon behavior in soccer is.
It's to be the littlest boy. Just to be like, I'm just a little boy. I'm just a baby.
Please don't touch me. I'm just standing here.
It's probably good that players won't. It's probably good that players won't do this because like there would be a tremendous competitive advantage of just sending in Steven Jimenez to be like you. It's like in the Mighty Ducks where it's like you go take Banks out right now. Like you send Steven Jimenez in there and it's like I want to make sure that Lionel Messi's walking out of the stadium in a body bag. It's like, coach, that doesn't make sense. How's he walking if he's in a body bag? I don't care. Go get him.
I don't have I don't think I have the energy to deal with the hand wringing and the crying and the complaining and the like precious, holier than thou kind of chastising that would come from MLS Twitter and MLS media if a team really did this. I just don't have it in me. It might make me
This is your
just
Joker
bow out.
your Joker origin story right here.
Yeah, it might just make me just bow out entirely. I can't handle it.
And for that
Like,
reason, Grayson's rooting for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just like these are not like everybody, but a lot of the vocal voices are just so precious and soft.
Yeah.
And it's what the mute button's for sure. And a lot of them you don't have to mute because they're only on Blue Sky.
That's true. Oh, God. Well, I think that's going to do it for our first proper off-season episode. Chief, would you like to end this episode?
Yeah, absolutely. Hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving, and no Thanksgiving for the team up north. Fuck Columbus forever.
The Cincy Postcast is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram. Twitter and Blue Sky, though, you'll find we're a little more active than the other places. We're also on YouTube, where you can listen to this episode if you aren't listening to it already. We are also putting up video content semi-regularly, including the Away Days series. We want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing the music for this episode. They are a lovely band, and you can find more information out about them in the description of this episode. And if you happen to enjoy what you just heard, can I please ask that you like us, that you rate us on whatever app you're listening to, and maybe more importantly than all of that, share this episode with a friend. When it comes up at work, you're talking about FC Cincinnati, I say, hey, I listened to an FC Cincinnati podcast. I think you guys will like it. It would really, really help us out. Nothing helps a podcast travel more than a good recommendation from a friend, family member. That would be awesome. When it comes to the sorting algorithms that control our lives, a 5-star review would be much appreciated. Also, leaving a sort of written review weirdly does more than that. That's how the algorithms work. So maybe say a nice or a mean thing, whatever. Just as long as you give us 5 stars, that'll really, really, really help us out. And if you are looking for more MLS content, check out our other podcast, The World's Gam. Again, a link will be in the description of this episode. That is where we touch on league-wide storylines and news, and we talk about other games and a couple other teams in there as well. I think you will enjoy it if you are just dipping your toes into Major League Soccer. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors. A even bigger thank you to all of our patrons over at Patreon. But maybe most importantly, thank you for listening to this episode.